Hello, this is the Lord's Legion and welcome to yet another tier list, and this time this is in relation to female characters in the Marvel Universe. Now, despite of what the title may suggest, no, this isn't going to be a smash or pass tier list, although that could be a deciding factor with some of these. However, I'm going to be focusing more on their overall characterization as well as their powers and how they've overall impacted on the entire universe and just how cool these females are on their own accord. Now, as always with all of these tier lists that I do, if you ever want to show me your own tier list with the Marvel females, feel free to use my layout in the description and pinned comments down below. But without further ado, let's begin with the tier list at hand. If you're wondering where the one above all is within the actual tier list and why it's on the screen only is because I literally forgot about the whole rank until the very last second, and I completely forgot about the one above all rank. And if you can recall from the villains tier list, only one character can be the one above all, so I'm going to play into that, and I think once I have all of these ladies ranked by the end of it, I'm going to decide who is actually the most worthy of being the one above all as far as the female characters are concerned. And if you're wondering, like, the actual layout this time, I tried to make it a little more polished, so I wanted to go 50-50 in terms of heroes and villains as far as females are concerned. So from Black Widow all the way to Clear, I think, we have all of the heroes, and since it was lacking as far as villains are concerned, I tried to squeeze in some anti-heroes as well. So if you're wondering why the likes of Electra, Black Cat, Emma Frost, etc. are like in the villain side, like starting from Black Cat all the way to Gwenpool, it's because I'm just trying to balance it from heroes and villains, keeping it 50-50. I don't think I really need to explain the rankings from the one above all to fucking Karens, because I think that's self-explanatory at this point. So without further ado, let's just jump straight into this. Now, first and foremost, we do have the Black Widow, who I do think has really cemented herself convincingly over the years as a female character within the Marvel Universe. And so, because of her impact as well as her overall characterization being pretty consistent even despite of her prominence in the MCU and onwards. So, for them reasons, I think it is safe to put her in the Omega level babes, and through impact alone, I feel like she might have the potential of being the one above all, but for now, let's just wait until we have everyone ranked first, and then we'll decipher whether she is actually going to be among the one above all. Next up, we do have Miss Marvel, or Captain Marvel more prominently, and to be fair, I do really enjoy Captain Marvel as a character. However, the thing with her, at least in terms of the more modern comics, is that she feels less human and is becoming more and more like a Mary Sue as time goes on, which I know it seems to be the popular consensus, but in the case of Carol Danvers, it does seem to be the case in that there is next to no personality for Captain Marvel anymore. So as much as I really like her, I have to give her some points and just put in the A-Force, because I feel like she's becoming less of a character and just more of a, you know, it's hard to explain really, but if you read the current Carol Danvers comics, then you would realize that they really don't know how to handle this character correctly at this point, which is really unfortunate because I do like Carol Danvers. And I'm not talking about the MCU here, I'm talking more of the comics. Up next, we do have Janet Van Dyne, aka the Wasp. Now, many people would probably sleep under her because how she just hasn't really been around in the comics for the past several years, but truth be told, I'd say it's safe to put her in the Omega Babes, honestly, because she is pretty monumental as far as female characters are concerned in Marvel Comics, and she is a prominent member in the Avengers, so for these reasons, I do think it's fair to put her in the Omega level Babes. Moving on, we do have the Scarlet Witch, who I've always been a huge fan of the character, and I am a sucker when it comes down to the mystical characters in the Marvel Universe. Although, for the similar reasons as Captain Marvel, I do feel like they don't know what to do with the character, and her character development overall has been very hit and miss. But unlike Captain Marvel per se, at least with Wanda, there is more hits than misses, and you can justify a lot of the stuff with her based on mental illness, and I do feel like it is fairly justified in that sense, even though they do some things with the characters that's just wrong. But even despite of it all, I'm still going to put her in the Omega levels babes. I'll put it in between them two because I do really enjoy Wanda Maximoff. She has came a long way since House of M, even though certain writers don't know how to write her properly. But even then, I don't think it's the fault of the character, but it's just inconsistency. Up next, we do have She-Hulk, and similarly to Captain Marvel, I do feel like She-Hulk just falls under that same category in that a lot of writers just don't know what to do with her anymore, and just her overall representation over the past few years as being nothing more than a Hulk just doesn't really help her case. But even then, I can't deny that she is a very good character in her own right. So I'm going to put in A-Force. I would love to put in the Omega level babes, but those last few years they've been treating her very poorly, which is very unfortunate. And speaking of lawyers, we do have Jessica Jones. Admittedly, I don't follow a whole lot of her stories, but I can't deny that she is also a very badass character. As far as I'm concerned, she has been treated very well, and even though she is closer to the Netflix counterpart, I still think they've done mostly good as far as Jessica Jones is concerned. So I think it's safe to put in the A-Force. In fact, yeah, I'll put it ahead of Carol Danvers because I do feel like she has been treated a lot better. I would put in the Omega level babes, but to be fair, I don't follow too much on Jessica Jones, admittedly, so yeah. Up next, we do have Susan Storm, aka the Invisible Woman, and for those who don't know, I am a huge fan of the Fantastic Four, and Susan is quite possibly my most favourite member of the Fantastic Four. And I do feel like, as far as female Marvel characters are concerned, Susan is up there as one of the best, like if not maybe even the one above all territory. But again, I will decide on that once I have all the females up. I do feel like she is a very strong female, both in terms of power level as well as just her overall characterization. And, you know, I feel like she does more than stand up on her own, considering how she is the literal heart of the Fantastic Four. Next, we do have Jessica Drew, aka Spider-Woman, and, you know, I'm again, Omega level babes. I think the last few years she kind of fell off a little bit, but in saying that, I think they've kind of picked her up again as far as characterization, and I think she's unique in the sense that she stands above the rest of the Spider characters, and I think that was the thing that kind of hit this character a bit when they tried to tie it in too much into the overall Spider-Verse. But as far as I'm aware, I think Jessica Drew is up there as one of the greats. Up next, we do have Spider-Gwen. I really do enjoy the character quite a bit, though I do feel like the thing that hurts it from being an Omega level babe is that she does seem a little too overused, and to some degree there's a bit of oversaturation with the character. Not saying she's bad personally, but I do feel like she's kind of lost a bit of her touch. But I think, to be fair, I'll put it in A4. Actually, I might. Yeah, I'll put it there for now. Spider-Gwen, I like you a lot, but yeah, I don't think you've done a whole lot to justify yourself as one of the greats just yet. But you know, she's a fairly young character in the grand scheme of things, so there is time. While on the subject of Spider-Verse and Spider characters, we have Silk, and unfortunately, she did have a pretty strong opening, but since then, like post Spider-Geddon, maybe Spider-Verse rather, I do feel like they haven't done enough with Cindy. So I'm gonna have to put in Fearless Defenders, not quite on the fucking Karens, because she is likable and she does have some cool moments here and there, but for the most part, I do feel like... Up next, we do have Mary Jane Watson, who people would assume that she's a fucking Karen, but really she's an Omega babe. Let's not kid ourselves. Like, as far as love interests are concerned, Mary Jane is one of those rare kinds that just stands out above the rest in the sense that she is her own character first and foremost, and she is very iconic and integral to the Spider-Man mythos. Next, we do have Medusa. I don't follow too much on the Inhumans, so I don't know her deal all that much. Although saying that, I do think that she is fairly integral as far as Inhuman laws are concerned, so I'll be fair and put in the A-Force. I don't have too much to say, but yeah. Crystal, on the other hand, I've always been quite fond of Crystal. I think she has a very cool gimmick in the sense that she can control all 4 elements, and I do feel like when it comes to the Inhumans, Crystal always stood out to me as being the most interesting. So I'm going to put in Omega level Babes. I don't think she's quite on the one above all just yet because I don't think she's been in enough. But as far as I'm concerned, Crystal, she's a babe. Moving on from the Inhumans, we do have Gamora, who let's just say has been on a downward spiral in the sense that they really don't know what to do with their character at this point, ever since, I can't even remember the story arc, but when she killed Thanos and became a villain for a bit, like, they don't know what to do with Gamora at this point. Which is unfortunate, because I think Gamora is a cool character, but I'll put her in Fearless Defenders for now, just to be fair, but the last few years, like, even worse so than Captain Marvel and She-Hulk, etc., I do feel like the last few years have really harmed this character in more ways than one. Now we finally get to the X-Women, starting with Jean Grey, and is there any doubt? She is an Omega level babe. As far as I'm concerned, she might even be the one above all. But again, I'm going to sit this one out and then I'll kind of decipher with the final candidates for the ones above all. But as far as I'm concerned, Jean Grey, with the Phoenix and everything, she really is an integral female in the Marvel Universe. And she is just iconic in her own right. And speaking of powerful X-Women, Storm, she also has to be in the Omega level babes. There's quite a lot of these so far, I swear to God. But yeah, I think Storm is a really popular character. I think she is incredibly powerful, and she is incredibly humble on top of all else. And I've always really enjoyed Storm. So again, she has to be in the Omega level babes. She is one of my favorite X-Men, period, so. Next, we do have Rogue, who is incredibly badass, but unfortunately, she always kind of falls off a bit as being a side character, which isn't a bad thing per se, but I think that kind of defeats her from being an Omega level babe, so instead, I'm going to put in a very strong A-Force, I think. If she did have some really prominent storylines, maybe she could stand on her own, but until then, I think A-Force, like, she's really up there. I think she has been pretty consistent over the years and is a cut above most of these, I reckon. I think the same could be said about Kitty Pryde, actually. I'll put in a very high, actually put it in between there. I think she is also a very high A-Force as well. I think the only reason why I'm pretty reluctant into putting Kitty Pryde in the Omega level babes is that I do feel like she's a little plain to some degree, but in saying that, with the Krakoa events and everything going on with the X-Men at the moment, I do feel like she's one of the very few characters, as far as the X-Men reboot is concerned, that hasn't really been tampered all that much. Next, we do have Psylocke, who is a character I've always been fairly interested in, but at the same time, I feel like I don't know enough of, so I want to put an A-Force, but yeah, if I'm going to put Medusa in A-Force, then I have to put Psylocke at A-Force. I know a bit more about Psylocke than I do Medusa, so but at this point, some of these have to come down, but until then, this is how it's going to be. Someone who's going to stay up is Magic. Like, hell yeah, she is an Omega level babe, even like above Natasha. I'll put it. Yeah, fuck it. Magic babes, come on. Like, Ileana, like, the Rule of Limbo. What's not to like? Domino, I think she hasn't done enough to justify herself as a mainstay, so Fearless Defenders, I think, is a fair place. Although, I really do like Domino, so I may put her higher into, like, A-Force, but I'll decide soon enough. Up next, we do have X-23, and like going off of her character development, she has to be like an Omega level babe. Because if you really think about it, X-23 is quite possibly one of the most consistent characters as far as character development is concerned. And pretty much everything surrounding X-23, at least prior to them removing the Wolverine mantle from it, has been very organic. So in a way, I do feel like she does have the potential to be the one above all, but in saying that, I do think that if she were to grow ever more, she might actually be there as one of the all-time greatest. But until then, I think it's safe to put her, like, where she's at. Next, we do have Squirrel Girl. She's a fucking Karen. She can stay right there. You can fuck off. Who I would fuck is Elsa Bloodstone. I mean, come on now. Like, I'm going to put her in a very high A-Force. The only reason why she isn't an Omega level babe is because she hasn't been in enough stories. But in saying that, she has been very consistent, she's very strong, and she is a very interesting character nonetheless. And the same can be said about Clea. I'm probably going to put in A-Force as well, because I think there's a lot you can do with Clea, being that she is the ex-wife of Doctor Strange, as well as being a relative of Dormammu, and I feel like if she were to play around with other magic wielders in the Marvel Universe and just do more stories with it, I feel like she could be, you know, fuck it. I'm going to be very biased with Clea. I'm going to put it in the higher end. I'll put it here in the Omega level babes. Because, you know, I really love the character of Clea, and although she doesn't get enough play, like, I'm just going to be biased on this one. Now, moving on to the villain side, or the villain slash anti-hero side, starting with Black Cat, who I've always been a huge fan of Black Cat, but the thing that hurts it a bit is that the past few years, when she was the Queen Pin of Crime, they've really dragged that out to the point where it just became tedious. But at the very least, they have rectified it, so I'm going to put it ahead of these and just put in A-Force. I think that's pretty fair, and I know she is very popular, but when you really stop and think about it, she hasn't been all that important to the Spider-Man mythos. And while you can kind of say the similar thing about Silver Sable, like, I'm biased as fuck when it comes to Silver Sable, so I'm going to put it all the way to Omega level babes, and, you know, I just love the fact that she is pretty much everything the Black Widow is, as well as being, like, the ruler of Symkaria, which gives her brownie points in that regard. And because of her ties to Doctor Doom and their complicated relationship, it's something that really intrigues me in that sense, so I have to put it there. I would probably put her in the one above all if we're going purely on waifu territory, but this isn't going to be the case. I'm just going to stick her right there. Unfortunately, however, as much as I really like Goth Babes and Shriek, she really hasn't done a whole lot that much, so Fearless Defenders, which is pretty ironic considering she is anything but a defender, but you get the drift. And I'm probably going to have to put the same with Electra, because she flip-flops so often that you really don't know where they're going to go with Electra anymore. I get that she is a wild card, which has always been somewhat of a kind of shtick, but I feel like there's being a wild card and then there's being inconsistent, and unfortunately she does lean more towards the latter. Some may say it's blasphemy because, you know what, I'll be fair, I'll put it like there. Because I do think I do like Electra, and she is pretty cool. They've not done enough with her to really make her stick out. And speaking of street level characters, we have Tripod Mary, I can't pronounce her name, the life of me. Again, probably gonna have to put in Fearless Defenders because I don't know too much about her and she doesn't do all that much, unfortunately. Now we get to the ex-villain babes, starting with Mystique. I think she very well be a Omega babe. The question is, where would I put her though? I'm just gonna put it here, because I do feel like she's like a wild card done right. Like, she's unpredictable, but the mystique, pun intended, surrounding Raven is always been integral to the character, and I feel like you would never know where her allegiance lies, which is always her shtick. And I feel like she's pretty much what Electra should be in that regard. Moving on, we do have Lady Deathstrike. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I really don't know that much about her, so gonna put it, I'll put it above Tripod Mary, because I don't really know all that much about her either. I get that she does have some real close history with Wolverine, but I don't know all that much besides their personal beef. Like I said in the Marvel villains tier list, I don't think she's really solidified herself quite yet, even despite her being around for many years. So I am sure that she probably is a kick-ass character nonetheless. Next, we do have Lorna, aka Polaris. I must say, I really do like the character, but at the same time, they never know what to do with her, so I'm going to put it in A-Force. I'll put it here because I do feel like they never know what to do with her character. Sometimes she flip-flops from being a hero to a villain numerous times, and I don't think she's ever had like a set personality, which is unfortunate, because I do feel like there's plenty you could do with Polaris. Next up, we do have Emma Frost. She's going to be an Omega level babe. I'm going to put her... yeah, I'll put it here. Because I do feel like, even though she does flip-flop from being a hero to a villain, I do think that she focuses primarily on herself and her students first and foremost. I do think she, in a similar sense to X-23, I do think she has the most consistent character growth. Say what you will about Emma Frost, but she's always equally entertaining whether she is either a hero or a villain. Next, we do have Madeline Pryor, who is yet another character I really find interesting, but at the same time, I don't know enough about her. But to be fair, I'm actually going to put her... yeah, I think that's fair to put Madeline Pryor, because I do think there is plenty you can do with the character if they do tap into her fullest potential. Moving on from that, we do have Selene, one of my personal favourite X-Men villains. I'm going to put her right... no, that's a bit too high. I'll put her... yeah, I think that's a fair placement for her, honestly, because I do feel like she has solidified herself as one of the best female villains in the Marvel Universe, and she is a huge threat to the X-Men and pretty much any sorcerer out there. Next, we do have Cassandra Nova, who is like a really hateable bitch, but in saying that, that does work with her character, and just on the purpose of being fitting to that, she is going to be a fucking Karen. By no means is it me hating Cassandra Nova, because I think she is a really cruel X-Men villain, but like, just for the sake of the memes, as well as like the despicable acts that she's done, I do think that is a fair placement to put her in. Next on the list, we do have Madam Viper. I've always been pretty fond, even though she hasn't done all that much. But, you know what, I'm going to be petty on this one. I'm just going to put her here, because I do think, as far as female Marvel films are concerned, she's like one of the most recognizable and one of the most ruthless. Moving on from here, we do have Yelena Belova, in which I do feel like they haven't quite tapped into her nearly as much as they should for being an anti-widow, so I think put her... yeah, I think I'll put her in Fearless Defenders for now, because I feel like they don't know what to do with it yet. But saying that, with the Black Widow movie coming out soon, I think that could potentially open the gates for Yelena to be a mainstay and kind of distinguish her from Natasha. Speaking of characters with untapped potential, we have Madame Mask. I really like the character from with the limited knowledge that I have of her, but they haven't done nearly as much as they should, so I'm going to put her in Fearless Defenders again. Kind of ironic considering that she's a villain, but yeah, it's probably about as generous as I can really do with her for now. Next on the list, we do have Songbird, who is a Omega class babe for the similar reasons as X-23. I think... wait, here we go. I think as far as character growth is concerned, she is up there as one of the most consistent, and it is very believable for Melissa to actually be an Avenger, because I do feel like they really took their time into establishing her as a genuine hero rather than just this undercover villain. And speaking of Zemo's waifus, we do have Moonstone, who, again, they really don't do as much with it as they should, being a Captain Marvel nemesis, so I'm gonna put it right next to Carol Danvers. Like, I do like Moonstone quite a bit, but in saying that, they don't do nearly enough, so I'm gonna be fair and put an A-Force. Next, we do have Nebula, who I do feel like has been more impactful than Gamora, and I do think that compared to Gamora, Nebula hasn't suffered nearly as much, so I think it's fair to put it in A-Force. It's just a question of where to put it. Yeah, I think that's safe. That's a safe place to put it. And finally, moving on to the magical babes, which is going to get really interesting. We've got Amora, the Enchantress, Mega level babe straight up. Like, no. Yeah, yeah. That's a good place for Amora. Like, I think she is very iconic in the 4 mythos, and on top of that, she is a founder member of the Masters of Evil, and she has done plenty of crazy things over the years, which is why I think that is a very good place to put her. And then another sexy sorceress who I'm going to put in the Omega level babes is Morgan Le Fay. Like, she is up there as far as I'm concerned. Like, for one, she is Doctor Doom's lover and mentor, and on top of that, she is an incredibly interesting villain in her own right and is like an Avengers level threat. It really pains me to see Morgan Le Fay being underutilized because she is easily the most underrated and underused female Marvel villain, and I have to do the best films ever episode on Morgan Le Fay to even do it justice. And while the next few episodes of the best films ever are probably going to be non-Marvel or DC characters, you can bet your ass that the next Marvel best films ever episode will actually be Morgan Le Fay. I will gladly tell everyone why Morgan Le Fay is such an awesome villain. Moving on from Morgan, we do have Satana. Again, I'm just gonna go straight up with the Omega level babes. I don't think they've done nearly enough justice with the character, but I think there's plenty you can do with Satana being the daughter of Satan and what have you. When it comes down to female characters, I think Satana is incredibly fun. So the same cannot really be said about Bloody Umar because they don't do a whole lot with her, and despite being known as Dormammu's sister, they really don't do jack shit with her, so I feel like I can't put her any higher, because when her only claim to fame is that she slept with the Hulk and just made him exhausted after a few seconds. In fact, saying that, no, I'm going to be fair, I think for meme purposes, I'll put her a little above it. Actually, no. Yeah, for meme purposes, I'll put in Fearless Defense as like the very top of it, because admittedly that's funny, but aside from that, she has to do a lot more to impress me. Next on the list, we do have Hela, who most people would probably put her in the Omega level babes, if not even the one above all, but when you really look down to the nitty gritty, she hasn't done nearly enough as she should be, but I can't undermine her status as a female character and like her impact like post MCU, so I'm gonna be fair and just put her in A-Force. I think that's probably about as generous as I can go with her, unfortunately, which is a shame because I quite like Hela, and yeah, I feel like there is plenty of potential with her, but despite of her just being Thanos' bitch, there hasn't been much with her since. Though someone who I find more disappointing is Black Swan, because when she first arrived, it looked like she could fuck up so much shit, but instead she's just a jobber and just another Black Order character, so I don't want to put in fucking Karens because that is a bit harsh, so I'm just gonna, yeah, put at the very bottom of Fearless Defenders, because I feel like they could do more with her, but they just kind of shot themselves in the foot by making her nothing more than a minion. Last but certainly not least, fucking Gwenpool, you know, you can fucking die. If there's one character I hate in the Marvel Universe the most, it's fucking Gwenpool, and I've had plenty of rants about this bitch, so I'm not gonna go over this again. Now, to quickly review this before picking the one above all, I want to make a few adjustments. I'm going to move Crystal down to here because they haven't done nearly as much with her. I'm also going to move Wasp down to A-Force because, again, throughout the past few years, they haven't done much with her. Also going to shuffle some of these down because, despite of me liking these characters, I don't know enough about them to really put them in the A-Force category. Although saying that, it isn't me shitting on them by any stretch. And, should I? Nah, I'm going to be biased on that one. So she can stay here. Alright, that just about does it, I think, as far as changes are concerned. It's very brief, but I'm pretty confident with said tier list. But now the fact remains, who is the one above all in terms of female Marvel characters? There are a few candidates, as you can see. As a matter of fact, I think a strong 7. We got Jean Grey, Morgan Le Fay, Invisible Woman, Magic, Silver Sable, Black Widow, and Emma Frost. I would include Wanda Maximoff as well, but in saying that, I do think with the shaky inconsistencies kind of didn't help him much. I do feel like she has been slightly inconsistent with the more recent stuff, especially what Jonathan Hickman has been doing with her reviving the mutant zombies and shit. I think that didn't really sit well with me. And honestly, with any of these 7, there is a good case for any of them. You know, you got Jean Grey being a very prominent X-Men. You got Morgan Le Fay, who is easily the most interesting female villain in the Marvel Universe. Got the Invisible Woman, who is incredibly prominent and is easily the most interesting Fantastic Four character, at least as far as the members are concerned. Got Magic, who has really grown into being her own character as far as character growth is concerned. Got Silver Sable, you know, my fucking opinion, in the sense that she is the ultimate waifu for Doctor Doom. And then you've got Black Widow, who is easily the most recognizable. And you've got Emma Frost, who, you know, she's very interesting as both a hero and a villain. And there is a good case for all of them, but if I really have to narrow it down, I think I have to give this to Jean Grey, because when you really think about it, I do feel like Jean Grey has ticked all of the boxes, from just her being a very interesting character, as well as being iconic and attractive, and just her overall character growth as a whole. I think she does tick all of them boxes, and I think out of all of the Marvel females, she just has to be the one above all. Although saying that with any of them, like from the Omega level babes, there is a good argument for the majority of them. But to me, I have to give it to Jean Grey. What do you personally think of my overall tier list with the female Marvel characters? Do you agree? Do you disagree? And what changes would you do to the tier list that would differ from my own? Comment below and share some thoughts, and as always, thank you guys for watching this video. Please like and subscribe, take care and have a good one.